And would everybody join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and let the record show that all trustees are present, including our 2 student board reps, which is very exciting. Welcome to Riley and Ava. Yay, happy to have you guys. I would take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second. Got a motion from Sanjay and a second from Catherine to approve the agenda. So Riley knows this drill, but Ava, every time before we vote, I'll turn to the student reps and ask how you would like to vote. So your votes are always advisory, but we always want to hear your voice, of course. The agenda is obviously fairly minor, but when we get to other meetings. So Ava, how would you like to vote on the agenda?
Yeah.
Thank you. And Riley? I approve. Thanks. And back to the board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I saw Phil's mouth move, so that's 5-0. To approve.
The sound suddenly dropped off.
No, you're back. We got you.
Can you hear us?
Now I can, not as well as I was hearing you a few minutes ago.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so on to item 8.1. No action was taken in closed session, so there's nothing to report. Which takes us to item 9.1, which is resolution 21/2204, which is a resolution celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month. I will turn this over to Dr. Meyer, I think.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. In honor of National Hispanic Heritage Month, we bring before you a resolution in recommend approval. And so we can go ahead and I will read it into the record. Whereas the United States Congress approved Public Law 90-498 in 1968 to designate the week of September as National Hispanic Heritage Week. And the week-long observance was expanded in 1988 by Congress to a month-long celebration effective the following year. And whereas America celebrates the culture and traditions of those who trace their roots to Spain, Mexico, and the Spanish-speaking nations of Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month celebrates the history and culture of the nation's Latinos and acknowledges their influence on the economy, politics, and social and cultural life throughout the United States. And whereas it is imperative for the good of our nation that schools continue to build awareness and understanding of the contributions made by people from all cultures and backgrounds. And whereas through the study of these contributions, students find role models whose participation, commitment, and achievement embody the American spirit and ideals. And now, pending vote and indefinitely with staff recommendation, therefore be it resolved, the Mountain View Los Altos High School District Board of Trustees recognizes September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. And be it further resolved that MVLA District Board of Trustees encourages all citizens to support and participate in the various activities available during this month and throughout the year. So with that, we recommend the passing of the resolution.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I move that we approve resolution number 21/22-4 on celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month.
And Riley, how would you like to vote?
We can-
I'm sorry, I'll wait on a second. Great. Sorry, I've got a motion a second from Catherine and Debbie to approve the resolution as presented. And Riley, how would you like to vote? I approve. Thank you. Alba? I approve. Thank you. And back to the board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Joel.
Can I ask a question of Dave Campbell in the audience? Dave, does the Spanish classes do anything to, we tell them that we had passed this or pass that information along?
I'm happy to. The month of September really is a month covered, like there are probably 7 or 8 specific days
days were the Independence Day, so
Oh, okay.
that's why that month is so special in particular. But yeah, we definitely will share that.
Okay, thanks.
And I'd also like to make sure we share with DLAC and other groups that are related to us in the school district that we were supportive of all the things we said in the resolution.
I think it's wonderful that it celebrates particular days within the culture, but also that it's something we study year round. So that combination is important.
Okay. Thank you. So motion carries unanimously. That takes us to 10.1, which is board member reports. Did anybody have anything that they wanted to report out on?
The only thing is I had a lovely tour with Nellie today at Mountain View High School. She spent about over 2 hours walking around the campus and looking at the new buildings.
Stunning.
Yeah, it was very, very nice to be able to do that and see the amount of work and effort that our construction and staff went into, and relocating admin to places and how the buildings are coming together. So I think we appreciate that. I hope we get to lots of this. And yeah, thank you.
Since Debbie mentioned that, I'll mention that my dog and I walked through the campus on Sunday, and we observed water polo or practicing, and the door ajar to one of the labs, and the robotics volunteers were in there on the weekend working with some students. So things are going on even on the weekend, and it was fun. I don't know if it's fun to see construction fences, but it was interesting to see things fenced off that have been demolished and going, oh my God, I remember what building was there, and so on. And then also to see the nice new buildings and peek in the windows and see, even on the weekend.
Okay, thank you. That takes us to our board member reports. And Riley, do you want to start us off?
Yeah,
Or
sure.
student board member, excuse me.
So first of all, I am super happy to be back, and thanks for having me for the second year. And I guess I'll start kind of going off of what they were saying about the construction. Everyone is super impressed with the 600 building. I mean, it's really, there's these random grass rolling hills that people are kind of confused what those are for, but other than that, it's really pretty, and it's kind of cool to finally get to see it since they started it my freshman year of high school. So to finally get that building is super cool, and I have 2 classes there.
Riley, I'm laughing because that was literally the question that I submitted.
Oh, really?
One of the questions that
Yeah,
I submitted
I was
tonight was,
wondering-
what is the rolling grass thing in the middle of the
I
building?
know, it's like for skaters, but it's grass. But anyway, it's super crowded there for some reason. I think it's just because, I mean, I didn't even realize how many kids went to the school. I kind of forgot until I went back this year. It's very crowded, the campus, but the new building's really nice. Oh, there's a lot of construction going on still, which I know will be for a while. But we also replaced the stairs in our 700s wing, which is actually really nice. We called them the cheese grate stairs before because everyone would fall on them. And so now having these stairs is a very nice addition. And then going on some general school opinions, as I was kind of thinking about what I was going to say for my student update, I was talking to my friend and they said, I want you to quote me tonight. And they said, I can't believe I'm saying this right now, but I'm so glad to be back on campus. And so now everyone is just super excited to be back. And people have just been following the rules, and now everyone's masked up in class. And it's nice that we can take them off outside. And another thing that people are super excited about is the free lunch. And I know that they offer salads and sandwiches inside the cafeteria, which people really enjoy having that option now. And one area of concern or something I just want to express, I know some people are worried about the nutrition just in general, just because a lot of people every day are just eating the pizza and the cookies because it's the most convenient. And I know teenagers can afford to do that, but it's just kind of an everyday thing. So maybe if they can start offering apples or other whole foods, that might be something that I just wanted to bring up. And then in regards to some things our leadership classes have done, we had our freshman orientation that went super well. It was kind of the first time we had a real freshman orientation in a while, which was nice. We gave them a tour. They got to write the letter to the senior selves that they get on graduation, which I think is really cool. And then our sophomores also got a tour since they missed out on their freshman orientation. We have our first Friday Night Lights, which is now Thursday Night Lights, I don't really know why that changed, but that is next Thursday, which is exciting. It's our first football game where everyone can attend, and we're gonna do a blue out theme. And we have a junior and senior movie night on Friday, which is super exciting. And our back to school dance was canceled, but I understand because there was some COVID cases around that time. And so I know people were kind of worried about that. So I think that was kind of a stress that was taken out because that was canceled, but I know everyone was kind of understanding of that. And then we also have had a lot of club Senate meetings, and we're planning for a club day where all the clubs are going to come out in the quad and set up booths and kind of advertise. So school's kind of getting back into the thick of things, and it's just really nice to see basically a normal school year, but with masks on. That's my student update.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Just blue out theme means everybody can dress up in blue.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a requirement.
Yeah, no, it's not a requirement, but it's just like school colors, basically.
Do you feel like students feel comfortable on campus and there's not a lot of stress related to the COVID thing, or is it becoming, like you were saying, it's more of a norm with that, or?
I haven't heard of many people that stressed. I think the school's doing a really good job of notifying people if there's a case in someone's class. That I know everyone that's in that class has been notified. It is crowded sometimes, so maybe people are worried about that, but most people still wear their masks outside except when they're eating. So I don't think kids are too stressed about COVID.
I noticed that today at Mountain too. It seems like a high percentage of students are wearing masks in the quad area.
I also heard there's a really high vaccination rate at our age, even though I know Delta can kind of break through vaccinations, but I know that it's really strong at our school.
Great, thank you. And again, welcome Ava. So Ava Keshavarzi is joining us from Mountain View High School this year, and very, very happy to have you, and would love to hear happenings from Mountain View.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I'm really excited to serve as Mountain View School Board Rep this year. So yeah, our school year has begun, and we're all thankfully physically back on campus this year. It's been really wonderful to see freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors all walking around the hallways, and of course to see all our teachers back lecturing in their classrooms as well. A week before school started, we had our first in-person freshman orientation since 2019. We had over 100 pod leaders in red shirts leading the event on August 4th, doing activities like name tag and leading the incoming freshmen through their back to school stations, where they picked up their IDs and their schedules for the first year of school, high school. The Mountain View pod leaders have also been eating lunch in our science quad all through the first and second week of school to give our freshmen a place they can eat and chat with their pod leaders if they want to. Also during the week before school started, ASB had a 2-day in-person retreat where we focused on class bonding activities as well as decorating the campus with welcome posters for the teachers and locker number posters to help freshmen find their lockers on campus, which is something new that we did this year, and I've heard it's very helpful. Our campus also looks a little bit different from how it did back when last time we were all at school. We have the new additions of the 2-story 700 building that contains mainly history and special ed classrooms, as well as the 800 building that is solely used for engineering. And these buildings are really nice. They bring a nice modern look to the campus. I have a classroom in one of the new buildings, and it's really cool. We also have a new 7-minute passing period as part of this year's schedule, which really helps our students be able to get to class on time, especially between places like the 700 and the 100. That comes in handy for sure. The past week at Mountain View was also our first spirit week of the school year. Monday was class colors, Tuesday was Jersey Day, Wednesday was red, white, and blue, Thursday was blackout and whiteout, depending on class. And we finished off the week with the Spartan Spirit Day. That was also really cool. A lot of people dressed up, which of course made ASB happy. And our first major football game of the school year is this Friday, August 27th. And to kick off this occasion, ASB is hosting its first big event of the year, which is our back to school blast off. There's going to be food trucks, games like dunk tank for the teachers, face painting, shaved ice, cotton candy, and balloon animals, all in the quad. And yeah, we're all looking forward to it. It's this Friday from 4 to 6:30. Our fall sports have also begun. Girls volleyball, girls golf, Cross country, boys and girls water polo, football, cheer, and girls tennis have all started their practices. However, our tennis teams are not practicing at our campus because we don't have tennis courts right now. So they're practicing at Rangsford Park, due to the tennis courts being under construction. And lastly, our first congressional meeting of the school year was this past Wednesday, August 18th. Club representatives, second period class representatives, and all of ASB were all physically in our theater. And our ASB budget for the year was approved by the student voices at the meeting. And so were some new clubs for the school year, like Russian Club and Random Acts of Kindness Club. So yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ava? Over to Dr. Meyer for item 12.1, superintendent's report.
Does 7 minutes seem too long, Ava, ever?
No, I think it's good.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, I agree. It feels good to be back. And so I think that's the wrong one. Oh, that's it. There we go. Okay. But as far as the superintendent report, I wanted to share. Here you can see we're at Los Altos, and this was the first day of school. And so we're excited to be visiting over the last few months. And I wanted to share just a few things. One, our enrollment. Two, the assessments that we're planning that are the outside assessments, a couple of pictures about the campus visits, and then events that we're having in August. And here's a picture you can see. I had a conversation with some family members who were saying they weren't aware that we had anything but pizza. And so I said, we also have salads and other types of food, but I think that more than ever, students are staying on campus and are interested in being on campus at lunch. So we're beefing up our food program. So it's great to hear that there's a desire to have more of that. So to start out, our enrollment, you can see here from left to right, 2019 to 2021, the district's overall enrollment. And the enrollment was taken on the last day of school to give you a sense of every student is where they're supposed to be. So it has been going up in the last 3 years, and you can see about 110. And then you can also see Mountain View from 2123 to 2298, and Los Altos 2156 to 2090. And then Alta Vista 2019 around 57, then up to 81, and then last year it ended with 58. So we are looking at all of those programs to make sure the enrollment's where it is optimal. And then over on the right, you can see where we doubled the numbers of MVLA students in middle college, and we share that program with Palo Alto. So these are really about half of the students that are involved in middle college, but you can see that it has gone up and remained steady. And then College Now went from 19 to 36. So there is a desire for some different programs, and we hope to within the next month or so bring a report that has more details, because I know there's been a request for information about College Now and middle college. So wanted to show you our enrollment. Today, this is a picture of the visit to Mountain View High School, and David Marakin was speaking about different choices regarding SAT and ACT, and so he was giving a counselor report in the theater. You could see it was spaced and everyone was masked. And then regarding those particular assessments, the PSAT, we are offering on October 14th to grades 10 and 11. The 11th graders will be able to choose whether they want to take the PSAT on that date or the SAT, which is also going to be offered on October 14th. And the College Board determines what day that will be, so we have to use their day. But then also the 11th and 12th graders, and 11th graders can choose either PSAT or SAT, and the seniors will take the SAT. So those will be occurring midweek on our high school campuses, and then the 9th graders will work remotely asynchronously on that day because we will be using the classrooms. So it will be a very busy day with that particular test, but we know that is part of the preparation that we provide for students and a very much needed test for college applications.
Question on that, Dr. Meyer, can you stand that? I thought our juniors needed to take PSAT in order to qualify for national merit.
They do, and
So if it's only offered on this day, then they need to take PSAT, right? They wouldn't be taking SAT.
yes, but they can also take it. We have to look at the date because there are other opportunities for them to take either one. This is the only one on campus.
Okay, got
Yes.
it. Understood. Thanks.
So, but it's a very good question because they have a deadline to apply. So the merit scholar students would need it, and then so they may choose depending on what their deadline is. So, okay. And you'll hear a little bit more about this, but I did want to share with everyone that we did have a webinar last Friday, a brown bag, and thank you to our COVID support and kudos to our personnel department who within the first few days of school pulled together an informational webinar that shared information about really the tree, and we'll have more information in one of our board reports, but we answered questions about testing, vaccines, makeup work, and the ever-changing guidance. Okay, in addition to this, our adult ed program is on a different timeline. So they're starting a little bit later, but they had their staff kickoff August 16th. And they had a speaker who was wonderful, who spoke about the importance of really helping create your own happiness and how that leads to academic and social success. Special thanks to Mayor Ellen Kamai, and you can see here some familiar faces in the picture there that are also up here on the dais. And thank you to Brenda Harris and Julie Vo, who really made for a wonderful welcome back for the adult ed staff. And here's a picture of one of our new buildings. You'll see the inside, maybe without students, I believe I saw in the picture. But here, this is our engineering class, and this is at Mountain View High School. And here you can also see our last round through the last construction that we had, our beautiful 600 buildings. So you can see here a Spanish class actively engaged and excited to be back as well. So a very familiar class to one of the people in our audience. And then one thing that Riley, I heard you state is just, you can take the masks off, but we are seeing more and more students are choosing, and we want to encourage it. When if you're tired of it, you can get some fresh air, but it is a wonderful extra mitigating factor. So this is a picture of lunchtime, and obviously during lunch that the masks do come off to eat. And so we have been continuing to require it to be eaten outside. So lunch to be had outside. And then just some updates. We will have our back to school nights at both of our campuses on the 26th, and they will be virtual. And then Alta Vista will have their back to school night on the 2nd. We also will have our freshman coffees for our foundation. And the Los Altos coffee will be on the 2nd, and Mountain Views will be on the 9th. And then that brings us almost to the next Board of Trustees meeting. And something that is also a late addition, this Friday, we will have a celebration of the lights that were a long time coming. And so we will have a ribbon cutting or lights on at Mountain View High School this Friday. And then next Thursday on the 2nd, we will have a similar event at Los Altos. So we're really looking forward to that celebration. This was a long effort, and we're excited to officially celebrate. And with that, you can see here Los Altos High, first day of school. everyone ready to go. And so we were able to get this wonderful picture of students who were visiting the campus for the very first time. So that concludes my report.
Questions? Dr. Meyer?
Just
Yeah.
to confirm that the copies are not virtual. Those
They are not, they are live. They will be in the cafeteria and spread a little bit.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are on to item 13.1, which would be communications from our various district organizations. I know we've got Mr. Dave Campbell here in the audience with us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I do want to say, you even saw from the pictures that the 600 wing classrooms are more beautiful than the new ones. Just kidding, I'm a little partial. Actually, I'm very partial. So good evening and thank you for making time for me to speak. First of all, I'm so pleased to be standing here and not zooming from my home office. Although if I were at home, I would be wearing a shirt, a tie, and some good sweatpants. I'm excited to share some comments from our District Teachers Association members about returning to school. I emailed our membership and asked for some anecdotes about returning to campus and how people feel. I'm here tonight to share these comments with you. They're simply in the order that they were received. There's no particular order. First off, MVHS administration has done a great job in with all that's happening, construction, COVID, rearrangement of schedules. It has felt like it's under control and being managed well. So Mr. Jimenez, nice work. Bob Fistrom is the man. This is a direct quote. Bob Fistrom is the man. I could not be happier with connectivity, my projector, and the seamlessness of connecting my laptop with the monitor. It's also simple and works perfectly. Couldn't be happier. That wasn't. But I agree. Thanks for showing up on our that was for me. Sorry. Students are enthusiastically engaged. We are making music together once again, and their positive collaboration reminds me how much hope there still is in the world. That can only be Jill Denny, right? Thank you for the College and Career Center at Los Altos. Are delighted to provide services to students. We've had invigorating discussions about career paths, internships, research, and volunteering opportunities. We've been able to quickly help students with Naviance, requesting letters of recommendation, connecting their common application accounts, supporting personal statement brainstorming and revisions. Also nice to have our open sign displayed on the door open for students. Thank you for all the support. I want to add that the College and Career Center is funded by donations to the MVLA Foundation. Please forgive me if it's not appropriate to plug the foundation here, but I'm going to do it anyway. Community donations allow us to provide these amazing enhanced services to our students, and thank you for your continued support. That's for them. This is a note from one of our teachers who has actually been battling cancer. It's so great to be back in person and hear the chatter between students as they enter classes. Being able to hear each other laugh because there isn't a muted mic between us has brought life back into learning in the classroom. While we've made the best of distance learning, it is so wonderful to be back in the classroom and with students. And the teacher continues to say, I'm grateful that important measures like proper masking and vaccination and COVID testing are a staple as we have returned to campus, because it makes me feel cared for and safe doing my job that I love. It's felt invigorating to be back on campus with freestyle students. Even though we are currently managing the best we can in our temporary home, our tiny quad has been abuzz with creative energy as our young artists have been outside writing, working in small groups, and learning how to use their camera equipment. Another teacher says, it's great to be back on campus. Students are great about wearing their masks. Even outside, they keep them on. It's just part of the culture now. Teaching is so much fun again now that we're back in person. Kids are excited to be back too. I especially see it when I put them into partners to work. Partners in breakout rooms were just blank screens and silence. Partners in classrooms are now actively talking to one another and engaged. It is awesome. Coming back has been significantly more enjoyable and significantly more exhausting than I'd have thought. I'd forgotten last year how much I love my job, and I've been reminded of it every day since we've been back. But boy, do I get tired when I get home. I echo that. I'm exhausted. I sleep well, though, which is good. Having the opportunity to meet with kids in person is invaluable. I cannot tell you how excited I am to come to school every single day to see my students and watch them interact, hear their laughter, see them having many aha moments. That's something that we all missed, is that, oh, the sound of learning. We're having deeper and richer conversations so much earlier this year than we could have ever had last year in Zoom. This is a comment from one of our instructional support team members, and they say, our teachers, all of them, work so hard to make school a safe, fun, engaging place for all kids. I see teachers making personal connections, building community through content, and planning and taking into account the new block schedule by building in movement and breaks as needed. I think we could all learn a thing or two about life, teaching, and what matters in a classroom setting if we all sat in on some SPED classrooms. It might spark some creativity as to how we can truly build our class time to be efficient, effective, and inclusive for all of our learners. Let's see. It's amazing back. I'm amazing back. I'm so happy to be back. Nothing like being back on stage, Nancy, over at Los Altos. The students are diving into all of the exercises and acting activities, and they love being able to use the stage. There's definitely a sense of community and support, even in the first few weeks as they're getting to know each other. I'm sorry, there's so many. I don't want to read through them. I do want to read through them all, but I don't want to take up your entire evening. I'm so grateful for how responsible and respectful students are about wearing their masks and keeping each other safe. I'm grateful to the community for taking our collective health seriously. Students are so excited to talk and learn together, and I'm so happy to be able to teach with them in the room and be able to be the most effective educator I can be. Their continued caution makes all this possible. I'd like to add on a personal note that we owe it to the community as well, because the care and the caution in our community has enabled us to be able to come back like this. And it's just a testament, your parents and the parents of the students I take, how much they care about everyone being safe. And that means so much to all of us. My best friend is a teacher in Alaska, and there are several schools that have no buses because all the drivers are testing positive for COVID. So they said, you know, you can stay home and not go to school, or you can figure out how to get to school. And they're keeping the schools open. So grateful that we're not dealing with that. For me personally, it's just nice to be able to connect with the students in person, walk around the room, just say, hey, how you doing? Do you need some help with this activity? Just couldn't do that in Zoom. Couldn't say, hey, Fiona, I'm going to put you in a breakout room because I want to see how you're doing. It doesn't work like that. And so being able to just go around and talk to the students one-to-one really, really helps. And yeah, for those of you who have children in our district, we did the best we could to build relationships through Zoom. Personal request, have your kids come and say hi to the teachers that they had last year. It means so much to us because we didn't get to really meet a lot of our kids in person. And so I've had several students stop by and say, I just wanted to meet you face to face. And it's just, you know, I didn't recognize them right away because of all the masks, but it just means so much because we do care so much. I do want to acknowledge that we had some concerns about the new buildings from some of the teachers, but I really want to commend the district for acting on those concerns as soon as possible. As anyone who's ever gone through remodeling or construction in their own home, there's always some tweaking that has to happen when it's done. But I appreciate knowing that Mr. Matheson is working so hard behind the scenes to make sure that those corrections are being made. So thank you all for that. And now the downside to being here in person is I have a drive of about an hour to go home. So thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much and for sharing all these comments.
And there are others I didn't read. I'm happy to email to you.
Great. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Could I just say thank you to Dave? And also, Dave, there's an old adage that you never miss the water till the well runs dry. Your anecdotes have established that we had a dry year last year, and I think people really appreciate having the water back in the well. And you guys are doing a fabulous job. They will value their education in person more than they had ever dreamed. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Police.
Great. Thanks. Okay, so that takes us to item 14.1, which is public comment on items not on the agenda. And could I get a sense of if you could just put your hand in the air if you're wishing to speak on this item? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5? Okay. Yeah.
Do we have Zoom participants? Do we have Zoom participants? Or we don't have-
No, we don't. We're taking public comment here in person.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're live streaming, but we're taking public comment here. So I saw 5 hands go up, so we can stay with 3 minutes. And are there cards in the back, or did we have cards submitted? Okay, so we've got green. They're normally green. They're often green. Green cards in the back if you could fill them out, but you're welcome to speak, and then just go ahead and give us the card so we know who's been here. Also, just before we start, I'll note that we did get 1 email on ethnic studies this afternoon. On ethnic studies? Oh, I apologize. Okay, apologies. Two. Okay. So if somebody just wants to start, that's absolutely great, and then we can. Yeah, that's great. Hi.
Hi there. My name's Felicia Taylor. I've spoken with some of you guys before. And yeah, I'm just here to kind of follow up on ethnic studies. I've been working with a large group in the community, some teachers, students, both former and current. And they're really excited to get this program going. But the biggest problem we have right now is that even though you guys say you're committed, it's so far only verbal. And the teachers, the public, and the students really want, something more, comprehensive than just, a verbal commitment. So around September 13th, as the teachers talk between the schools to figure out some of the logistics of it, just, kind of keep that on your minds, because people are very passionate about it being a 9th grade requirement. And not only that, but it's a real melting pot of all incoming 9th graders. So there isn't like a top class, there isn't a lower class for it. It's to get all of them together, and you really get to learn your community. And I'm really excited for what it seems like the teachers have been coming up with. You guys have been very transparent, which we actually really thank. We just started about a year ago. We have 900 people behind us right now, and it's really strong in our community right now. They really want this. So, just reach out to your teachers, and, it's time to make a commitment, because we have probably less than a year now before the next school year starts, and that's when it should be getting implemented. We saw a lot of calls for social justice last year, and also a lot of important conversations had on race, ethnicity, gender, queerness, and it's just very important that now we bring that to our children as well. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Keenan Most. I graduated from Altos High School in 2016. And I'm fortunate enough to have gone to a school in the MVLA High School District, because we've got incredible schools. We have great opportunities that are set for us because of it. But we also need to learn and need to adapt. And that's something that we've seen is really crucial over the past year. It means include ethnic studies as a requirement for students. That's how we make that happen. Because for people like me, I didn't get to learn anything positive about myself. So when I'm sitting in class, I'm watching other people talk about what it was like to be me, rather than learning firsthand what our history was and learning about other people as well. So please make a true commitment to make this a requirement for next year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Shapiro. I'm a senior at Los Altos High right now. And I really, really want my youngest sibling, who is in 7th grade right now at Egan, to be able to have ethnic studies when they're a freshman. I think it's such an important class to have. I wish I had it as a freshman. I've talked to Mr. Donnelly, who's a history teacher at Los Altos High, about all of the really cool things that I would have had a chance to learn about. And it sucks that I didn't get to learn that and have to learn it outside of school. But it would be really, really awesome if we could get the incoming freshmen to be able to learn that. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jaba Malouf. I'm also a senior at Los Altos High. I think that having ethnic studies as part of the curriculum, the required curriculum, would be really helpful to any student, really. I've had to do it all on my own time, learn from other people around me. And I think having it to be required for any student would not only be helpful, but very productive as a society, because all these things I just didn't know, weren't even concepts to me from my own learning. So I think being required to have this knowledge for students would just be so much more helpful.
Hello, my name is Chris Coe. I'm a current junior at Mountain View High School, and today I'm coming here on behalf of AAPI-SB, we're a youth organization, and we've been working with teachers and other local organizations on getting ethnic studies implemented. And after hearing that 2022 is the target for getting ethnic studies, that was a great thing to hear, but I came to stress the need for making it a non-tracked and freshman requirement, as well as the need for dedicating ample time and funding towards this curriculum in order to fulfill the purpose of finally educating students on the history of racism, but as well as the living manifestations of it. And just this past summer, the Los Altos School District released a statement after the influx of Asian hate crimes, saying that they stood with the AAPI community. And today at the board meeting, you guys discussed the Hispanic Heritage Month. And I can see that it's clear that you guys are working towards highlighting culture. And highlighting culture is a nice thing to do, but ethnic studies is something that vigilantly fights against racism in our community. And so I just really want to stress the need that we need to get a move on this quickly, and we need to do it now. And I'm currently enrolled in the social justice class at Mountain View High School. And it's a good class. We're learning about history and indigenous tribes right now, but there's a stark difference between what a class like that can do and what ethnic studies can do. The possibilities with ethnic studies just go so much further by promoting discourse within the students so that they can talk to each other, because race is a real thing. It's something that we experience, so it needs to be discussed. And that's not something that currently happens in that course. So just to wrap it, I just think everything needs to, I'm glad that this is happening and that the target is by 2022, but it needs to be freshman a requirement and non-tracked. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
My name is Chris Lytle. I'm a Los Altos alumni. I still live in the area. Both my brother and sister both went through Mountain View Los Altos School District. I'm also here talking about ethnic studies, and I think it's very important that we should have our students go through a course or a program like this. We saw over the last year that there's a need or a big importance to talk about these kind of topics. And I think that the sooner we're able to do that, the sooner we can reach more and more students and help educate them a little bit more. And yeah, so like give students kind of a place to have open discussions, open education opportunities, stuff like that. That's, thank you.
I think that's it on the speakers. I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming. And as we've I've emailed back and forth with some of you. I've been in a room with some of you on Zoom. There's not resistance from this table to doing this. We want to do this, and we believe in this, and we're in your corner. So so thank you for all the emails and for coming in person to talk with us tonight. But we're all swimming the same direction. So. Yeah. All right. Oh, thank you to Mrs. Maher. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is. Actually, it's really fun to see all of you in person. Thank you for coming. Okay, so sorry for all of you on YouTube. We wanted to let the room clear out just a little bit. So we are on to item 15, which is the consolidated motion. And I would take a motion, or if anybody needs to pull anything for a discussion, you can do that.
Okay, I move to approve consolidated motion items 15.1 through 15.17.
I'll second that. Oh,
So I've got a motion, a second from Debbie and Sanjay that we approve items 15.1 through 15.17 on the consolidated motion.
may I say one comment?
Sure.
Before we, is that the general public, if you expand your agenda online, there's the printed version like this and an expanded one, particularly in Consolidated Motion, it explains a little bit better in a summary what those things really are. And furthermore, it tells you actually how much money, all the ones that involve money, are going to cost. And it's a very interesting exercise to go through for that. And in this particular case, it's actually in excess of a couple $1 million worth of items that we're approving altogether on this Consolidated Motion. It's just interesting if you want to follow us that closely. But also keep in mind that in any case like this, particularly construction and everything, there's the board that approves the contracts. There's the facility committee that works with Mike and the contractor, Sanjay, and on that right now. And then we have an oversight committee for all the bond money that reviews all our expenses. So we are being, in my mind, good stewards of your money, the public's money. But that's one reason all these things come to us every month for approval, so that we have a chance to look at what's going on and officially approve things.
As well as the wonderful field trips that our students.
I know.
hopefully
Yeah,
will be
you
able to
hopefully
come
get to have
go
field
on
trips this year.
They're also in here. which
Yeah, the field
is
trips are in there. That's always, that's one of our fun items.
Yeah.
It's not all about
Construction's
money
fun, too.
itself. Construction is fun.
Okay, so bring it back to us. We have a motion from Catherine and a second from
Well,
Sanjay.
from Debbie and Sanjay.
Okay. Ava, how would you like to vote on this?
I agree.
Thank you. And Riley? I agree. Thank you. And back to the board, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. So, we are on to, actually, nothing was pulled, so we're on to item 17.1, which is our COVID-19 update. And before Dr. Meyer jumps in, I just want to say an enormous thank you to staff. I'm trying to catch Layla's eye down the table here, and I can't. But that webinar on Friday, the fact that all of you pulled together so much work, so many resources, so many testing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I mean, all of the work that got done so that we are safe on our campuses and our students are safe. I am just blown away at the work that you guys have done. So, and I know I guess that's a preview for those of you who didn't see Friday's webinar, but I was truly stunned, truly. So thank you guys.
I have to remark on that too. I attended the webinar. I thought it was very well done. Explaining the flow chart and all of the, one-offs that are happening and the contact information was very well done. And I really did appreciate it because we get a lot of questions and now I can refer to it and it's very easily to explain. And I know that it's changing daily and you explain that. And I do appreciate the amount of work that your office, as well as all the staff, has been doing to keep it up to date. Thank you.
May I add a pre-comment also? And that is, it's so wonderful that we have our testing here. I mean, that is one comment many people make in the community all the time, is it's just so hard to get testing. And when can you get testing and where can you get testing? Now we have daily testing at our own site. That's a feat among it, in itself to be able to arrange for that for us. So that is truly great, and that keeps us all safe because there's no excuse for not going ahead and testing. If you need a test, you get to have your test. So thank you for all that work. And the website, by the way, is great. All the COVID parts of the website are fabulous. So anybody from anywhere could read our website and know what's going on in COVID, not just our own school district, because we have it down in terms of the way you guys are explaining it to everyone. So thank you in advance of your presentation.
Well stated, and thank you, well deserved. So to share briefly, we wanted to share some information that you may have heard before, but really give an opportunity to answer any questions that you might have, because you really have to hear it over and over because it is complicated. And I could not agree more about your comments about how well our personnel department and all of our departments have worked together on this topic. It really has been a group effort. And so thank you to all of them. And you'll see some other reports that show a similar wonderful work that's been going on. So first of all, wanted to just briefly share the community rate, which has been referenced tonight, the staff requirements, the protocols and reporting, the vaccination requests, and what we're looking at doing with our off-campus adult program and our other programs, because that question has come up. So to start out with the really good news, and it was referenced earlier, our employees are reporting an exceptionally high rate, 97%, and we are tracking the twice weekly testing. And we are also, we did receive, when we first went to the mandatory twice a week, we did receive some more information that we did have some employees that had been vaccinated. So we were able to record that. So that bumped the number up a little bit. And just in general, this particular community has been very thoughtful and really supported each other and have received the vaccination. And the data, and this is from over a week ago, the COVID-19 California dashboard shows that 94% of all of our residents 12 and over in this particular area have received at least one dose, and now 88% are fully vaccinated. So that is probably a low estimate because that was right in the middle of August. And Santa Clara is really one of the highest rates, with 86% of all residents had with one dose and 80% fully vaccinated. So we're very fortunate, and we're continuing to monitor those numbers. One thing at our last board meeting, as you all recall, prior to the governor, I like to point it out because you all took that step days prior to the governor's announcement, and it was not an announcement that we knew about ahead of time, that we were going to require all employees to be vaccinated or have tests twice a week. So you can see here that that has been a very successful program that we have had, and August 11th, Governor Newsom then required it. And what you saw right when that happened, we were continuing to try and do our testing, but everyone wanted testing at that point because it was a requirement of employment. So that did cause the need to really dig deeper, and our team did an excellent job of procuring and being able to provide that testing on our sites. So here you can see a Los Altos leadership student, and you've heard all of these things before, so I'll get to the good part, which I think are the flow charts. But I did want to say that the masking has been very effective. And we have masks that we're providing for anyone who's forgotten them. We visited today, and a student TA was putting masks in baggies, and so we're doing that. We're continuing with ventilation, and our bond, which you'll hear more about tonight, helped us provide filters in our new buildings and make sure everything was in good shape. And then we're continuing with hand sanitizer. Something that you know, but we do want to announce to the community that visitors and other adults are not dropping in, that they need to pre-arrange any visit, make appointments, etc. And volunteers and visitors do need to be vaccinated, and our substitutes are vaccinated. So all important safeguards. So with that, I would like to please ask Ms. Layla Benson, our Associate Superintendent of Personnel. She's going to walk us through our, and are these backwards? Would you prefer quarantine first?
Yeah, we can go quarantine first.
Quarantine first? Okay. So she's going to walk us through the tree, because this is something that has been evolving, and we want to make sure that that you have any questions you have about it answered.
Okay. Just checking, can you hear me okay? Yes, okay. So this is the decision tree, which is the way in which we currently make decisions about after exposure on campus. I think because there have been so many questions, I think it's timely to mention that the decision tree goes into effect at the point in time where we get a notification. And if we just like think, and again, this is like all new to all of us and we're on a steep learning curve, but when somebody is actually going for a test, that's the day of the test, if they are testing positive, there's actually a window period of 48 hours prior that if they were on campus, we need to look at. So the day of the test is a marker in time, but then there are typically a couple of days to wait for that test result. This has created a lot of confusion because at the point in time when the exposure has happened, we send a notification for the window period of time where a person was on our campus and contagious. So that is done with close consultation with the county. We get the training. On a case-by-case basis, we look at it. Sometimes someone's physician is involved. So there's a lot of factors at play. There have been a lot of questions about dates. But I just want to explain that this period of time that we're looking at is when a person is contagious and they are on our campus. Then this decision tree goes into effect. And the qualifying criteria for someone who is a close contact is someone who's within 0 to 6 feet of someone who has tested positive. So you have to come into some proximity with someone who's actually positive on the campus. And it's for more than 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. So that also has created some community confusion because someone will say, well, you know, my daughter has someone in their class who received a notification, but my daughter did not get the notification. Well, that's very possible because that other person may have come in contact with the positive person, but your child may have not. So then you follow the chart, and really, as Dr. Meyer likes to say, we really want to get to the bottom line, right? And so what is the bottom line? Well, the bottom line is that there are different outcomes, whether the exposure was masked or unmasked. And in a masked exposure, there's a strong emphasis on staying on campus. So for someone who is unvaccinated, a student that is unvaccinated, you're asked to test immediately. As you can imagine, that's also challenging. Immediately, and then on day 5, you are being precluded from extracurriculars during that window period of time. And if you take those 2 tests and test negative, then on day 8, on both of those tests are negative, you don't have symptoms, you followed all the rules, you submitted your test, everything, then you can return to your extracurriculars. Meanwhile, all the way through, you are going to school. If you are vaccinated, you're taking 1 test and everything else in your world is normal. You're monitoring for the symptoms, okay? In an unmasked event, you have the vaccinated person testing as well, like the day 5, but the unvaccinated individual, and this is where it really changes, is actually going home and quarantining at home. So each case we have to work through very methodically, and that's the other thing is we do our contact tracing and we determine, you know, how each person's affected. So that's another thing, comparing notes and comparing letters is often not a great idea because the same event could issue many different notices. So there's also asking to compare, and that doesn't work. This is a very individualized chart, and we do work very closely with county public health on how we make the decisions that happen. So this one has come in handy this week in particular. If someone has regarded the dashboard closely, you'll notice that in our first 3 days of school, we happen to have 2 exposure notifications go out, and they're promptly posted on our dashboard. But since then, we do not have any other known cases on campus from the following week, so the 5 days that we just had at school. But what we have helped people do is there are in-home exposures. These are happening where somebody in the home is positive but not the student. And then what this chart does is it helps you think through, okay, what needs to happen next? What test needs to be taken? Is
is the person vaccinated, not vaccinated? When should they return to the campus? What's considered safe? So this is the when to test and what to do decision tree. And that also correlates very strongly with our first decision tree. But we use this as a secondary decision tree. And again, we receive weekly testing on it. So I don't know if there's any other detailed questions that someone may have, but we do, I do want to plug again the covid.designee@mvla.net email address. If you have a very individualized question, it's a great way to get an answer. I think we're still very prompt. It's currently been all addressed today. And also we have our office hour this Wednesday where someone can come for a more interactive explanation. And then if we do receive an email and it just seems too tricky to email back and forth about, we just call. So sometimes it just warrants a conversation. Okay, so yes, we did expand to 5 days a week on-site testing. And if you go to our main website and you go to COVID, then it says testing and you can actually sign up. In fact, we've asked people to print a hard copy permission slip because we really want to ensure medical privacy. And when you do sign up, we get the results. MVLA does get the results of the test. So, but there is a link that is on the main page where you can enter in all your information so that as you go forward with testing, you're already pre-populated and you could just get on a regular testing regimen. And it does appear like right now, even though we said close contacts and required testers would have first priority, right now we have room and they're coming to both Los Altos and Mountain View 5 days a week. On Tuesday, Thursday, it's in the morning, and on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's at lunch. So we're trying to make it really accessible for people. And we're really excited about this opportunity. So we also are partnering still with El Camino. We're in regular correspondence with them. We're talking to them about booster vaccinations already. So we're already getting that conversation going. And then we also have had an incredible turnaround time with the county fairgrounds. They are, as far as tests getting back quickly, they are most often getting tests back to us within 24 hours. So that's, usually people are waiting about 2 to 3 days, but the county seems to have a very quick turnaround time. So I think they're really well staffed for that 7-day-a-week endeavor. So I don't know if there are any other questions about that one.
So Lytle, do you know which type of test is being done?
Yes, we're doing a PCR test.
PCR
And
test.
we are, I think we made it abundantly clear that we really believe that, sure, if you're kind of panicked at night and you want to go buy a rapid antigen test, by all means, but the most accurate test is the PCR test. And even whether you get a negative or positive antigen test, if there are symptoms involved, you're really needing to go get a PCR anyways.
Right.
So that's why we like having this resource available, and we're testing outside. So we made an arrangement for somebody to get a test real quick so we can do that. You're swabbing yourself so that it's not dangerous for the tester.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So to share some of the programs, one thing we did want to share with the board and the community, College Now and Middle College are part, as you know, of the Foothill Community College campus. And so the Foothill campus requires that every student be vaccinated. So we are in the process of, we've already informed these students, and we are making sure that they know that that is a requirement. If they are not able to be vaccinated, and of course we hope they will be allowed to go back to their home campus, but we are very optimistic that this will be something that all of them will participate in if they have not already. Freestyle, one thing about Freestyle, they will have the same requirements as our students at our comprehensive campuses, but I put this up here just to say that if we did have a student at Freestyle, it certainly would impact students from all of the campuses. So that's just something to keep in mind, that there will be various combinations, or if they're interacting with students through athletics or other extracurriculars, they may have different interactions with other schools. Option B is still going strong, and we do have Since the last time we reported, we had about 40. We have, is it about 60, Terry? About 60 students now in option B. And this could be, although we hope it doesn't have to be, this could be an option if there is a student who, or someone who becomes ill. We hope that does not happen. But also if there is a family or a student who is not comfortable being on campus, they're worried about their health, option B will be available to them. They can still go into that campus. And as part of the recent assembly bill, we are required to let them come in at any time throughout the year and go back if they so choose. So that's a change. Adult education, they are in the process currently, they start later, of doing many of the things that we already did. So they're surveying, they're part of our survey that we do as a district, so they're part of that survey. The staff, but we are surveying the students there as well. So we're looking to see about the adult ed students to make sure that they are safe. We want to encourage vaccination and provide it when we can. We also, through that program, the health and science class that they have, Brenda Harris, their director, has shared that within a few weeks, they will be able to administer vaccines. So hopefully we'll have a little self-sufficient community there, but that is just something we wanted to make you aware of. And then lastly, other specialized programs, athletics. Currently, the most recent guidance, and this could change, is that we are operating under the same rules that we had last spring. So we are continuing to work through athletics, and we're still fine-tuning spectators and what that will look like. Outside it should be fine, but what it will look like inside is something we're still trying to make sure that we have tightened up. And certainly we may see more information about athletics, but currently it's under the status quo of last spring.
Hang on, Sunday, I have a question.
So for the students that are quarantined.
Yes.
So what happens with their classes, exams, quizzes? How do we work with them on that?
I think that has been a common question, so we definitely have that.
So we are really working very closely with the schools to make sure that these absences are excused, confidentially excused, but not only is work available to come home in real time, because thankfully our students have been well enough to at least complete some work during the quarantine time, but then they get the equal amount of days to make up that work. And if there are any issues, whether that be that they're not obtaining the work or they need more time, we are totally flexible. We have also met with the union to discuss this, and nobody has any concern with that. Since right now that is the option we have available, everyone is completely understanding that this is, a requirement necessary for health and safety and supportive to try and help. But it is a very common question, and of course a concern that people have brought up. Of the families that we have helped, we have not had any concerns that have been brought forward specifically about their circumstances, but again, we will continue to make sure that that's the case.
One of the silver linings of having all of the distance learning work that we had in the past is that we're seeing teachers are using some of the materials that they had. And a teacher today, when we were visiting, said that when his students are absent, that he uses some of those materials that he had and students are asynchronously doing some of the makeup from that same time period. But overall, we're treating it much like we would a regular absence. Makeup work will be allowed and they will have time as stated. And if it's an extended period, which we hope it is not, then we will start to look to option B and provide that independent study option after 10 days or more.
I just want to do a shout out to your COVID-19 FAQ, because I just looked it up, I think there are 11 pages of the FAQ on here of answering questions that are being updated. And
it's a good nighttime reading document, It's a good nighttime reading document.
Yeah, so I mean, so it's a really good resource to go to if you're looking for any answers to questions about what the process is, as well as you can find the flow chart and everything else on the website. A long way. Information on
and most parents that email the COVID email address, we are even replying, we're going to put the great question, we're going to put it up on the FAQ. Sometimes you couldn't even think of the different things, you know, I'll just give one brief example. You know, somebody had to get 2 vaccination cards because they didn't have the card with them when they went for the second shot, but you could only upload, you know, 1 attachment, you know, just these things you wouldn't even consider, that we are just helping to troubleshoot. And there is a team, and we did specifically shout out to Chris Avila, who is on the back end doing incredible amounts. I think the one thing is, when they rolled out this protocol, the amount of data that we are sorting through and checking and reconciling is fairly incredible. And that's a whole skill set unto itself. So we're really lucky to have a team behind the scenes really working quite hard.
All right, I like this picture because they're outside and they're wearing masks. COVID designee.
What's me again?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we plugged all of this. It is super important that we continue to text or call anytime to the number here, which happens to be my cell phone number. And this does happen. And like I said, although we haven't had another confirmed case thus far from the last week, we did take many calls about circumstances, and it is not an issue, because safety is first and foremost, and it's always better to ask or to work through what next steps are best. Thankfully, we've had some students with some symptoms, maybe just people coming back into the school environment, but all have been ruled out, so that's been wonderful. But again, not a problem to call. The FAQ, thank you, Debbie, for mentioning it. It was really born out of, you know, the variety of questions that we just heard the community had, and we're trying to just put as much information out there as possible. Certainly, it is, you know, a complicated endeavor, and everyone wants to do their best job. Not only has the community have been amazing in reporting to us and asking questions, but we really want to thank in advance for adherence to the protocols and doing the testing and being vigilant. And staying home if you feel ill, you know, really understanding that that's a requirement. And then we will see you if you would like to have interactive questions on Wednesday, August 25th at 12 p.m. for an office hour, so that we can have a live session if there are remaining questions or just a discussion that needs to be had. Okay, so we do have a one-page document that's also on the main page, and I do agree that it's very easy if you go to the COVID-19, if you go to the main page and you go to COVID-19, all these things are easily linked. Somebody mentioned, you know, sometimes clicking links is not as useful as seeing it, but that allows us to update the documents. And the updates are critical, because we don't want you looking at outdated information, because that would be very frustrating. So we do continue to update. That's the one page at a glance, the district dashboard that does accurately tell the number of cases where someone has come to campus and there have been close contact notifications. The person has come to campus and possibly, you know, been contagious. So we do put that on the dashboard. If anyone would like any clarification about the dashboard, we do take questions about it, in the sense that someone wants to make sure that it's updated, but we do with fidelity update as soon as something happens. And then there's the FAQ for the dynamic community questions. There's also on the FAQ a way to link to give proof of vaccination, or if you've received a close contact notification per the incident, you can upload your test information. So if you just lost the email or you need the link again, if you go there, you can submit. So, and then the testing centers, which are also linked on the main page. So thank you.
Do you know where they are physically on the campus? You said they were outside.
Yes, they are. So currently we are doing the Los Altos testing is by the football field near the trainer's office. And here for the Mountain View campus, we're actually doing it right in front of the district office right now. There, if you saw the X marks and whatnot, and it's been successful thus far. If it changes location, we'll let you know.
And how long is it taking to get the results?
Oh, 2 days is really what we're finding. Yes, but you know, I hate to commit to the turnaround time, because as testing, what I've heard from behind the scenes is, as the testing continues to be impacted, you know, the test results will be a little slower, because there is a lot of testing going on right now.
And I love this picture. We should compare them in 4 years to see, stand in the same place. But once again, definitely thank you. This has been a lot of work, as you can hear, a lot of details, and we've really, I've seen the process evolve and get better and better with each community comment and the feedback that has come into our personnel office. So I think we're very proud of the work that has happened. Oh, did you have a question?
Yeah, Riley, go ahead. I was just gonna make a comment off the picture, but I was saying when I had all my freshmen write their letter to their senior self, I told them all to write their height. And so I thought that'd be funny, like when you said, take the picture of 4 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't really relevant, but.
Yeah, you can see the change, look like different people, they'll look like different people. All right, well, thank you.
Okay. Questions or other comments for Dr. Meyer? Just an enormous thank you. I mean, it's Herculean. It's an example for the county. We know that you're being tapped for help at the county level on top of all of this, and it's very incredible. Happy to be back at school and safe.
Yeah, I think that's what keeps us all motivated, that everyone's back and all the positive comments that we've heard is worth it.
Okay, so we're going to move on to item 17.2, which is the construction projects update. Hand it over to Mike.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So it's exciting to bring you some updates about construction and the wonderful buildings, although I feel like we've already heard about it and had great plex for it, some pictures and people touring it. So you guys did half the presentation, so thank you for that. But it's been busy, very busy, probably an understatement. I appreciate the student board reps acknowledging what a challenge it is on campus and cramped it can feel at times, especially passing periods or navigating. Where's the 600 building in Los Altos and what is that? And how do I get there? But there's fencing over here. So, we don't hide from those challenges and inconveniences, but acknowledge the amazing products that result at the end of it. And that's what we keep our aim and our focus on. So this presentation is all pictures. I will speak to many of them, but really pictures worth 1,000 words and tours are worth even more. And so hopefully we'll get to do some of those, but really it's just bringing to this meeting and the public watching at home some visuals of what the completed projects are. So we're gonna start first with completed projects, or ones that are like 99% completed, and then projects that we started over the summer because there's a lot of demolition happening, and just kind of give an update of where we're at. So I'm just gonna race through them, starting first with Mountain View High School. I know those in the audience, I'm blocking the view. I'm sorry, I'll try and step back. These are wonderful new two-story classroom buildings, as mentioned, as was said earlier, primarily social studies, lowest level of life skills. And it's a point of pride. I just want to share that, the district supports all of our students, and by all in particular, this life skills program, some of our students with the highest needs. And it's a wonderful facility designed really with the teachers in mind. I remember still the rough hand drawing, outline of a central kitchen and kind of learning area with classrooms surrounding it, and then to see it fruition is very just affirming and nice to see. So you have that. Just keep moving. Here's from the second story, looking down in the kind of courtyard area below with the landscaping inside. So just another viewpoint, elevator and stairs up there in the middle. I'm just going to move right along. Now kind of looking down or up from where we're looking down before. So again, these are the life skills rooms looking back east, the single story building off to the east is the engineering and computer science and restroom facility. A lot of people have commented they don't look like classrooms. They look like condos or townhouses or things like that. And so it's, it's new. Part of what we did the architectural design is how do we connect with the current architecture, but also lean towards the future and what campus might look like in coming years. So you see the inside of the classrooms. It's more fun with the students present in them that you saw earlier, but this is all the furniture was getting delivered. A lot of whiteboard space. So a lot of the walls was pretty much whiteboard material. So that was a big request from the teachers, whiteboards, lots of whiteboards. So you see a lot of that in the rooms. Teachers are already, they wanted to get in back in July. We said, no, they're not ready yet. But they were in there in earnest, decorating them to make them unique and personalizing them. Again, upstairs, high ceilings, 960 square foot classrooms. If you were like me and taught in some of the old rooms, or Terry thought 700-ish square feet, these seem a little more palatial compared, especially there's one room in particular, this room, second story, very high ceilings looking out into the field, one of the best ones probably on campus. I'm not sure how they decided you got to be there, but I will leave that to them.
It's Julie Yick, right?
Well, there's another corner one, the ceiling's not as high, but it has windows on both sides, so
Yeah.
the department coordinator might have also taken a stab at the corner office, so to speak. Yeah. So moving over to Los Altos High School, those new classrooms, again, you already heard about it, but this view actually downstairs, this is in between all these classes, the new culinary space, designed again with the teacher, a lot of input there. And we'll head over kind of more to a different view looking back. Again, the stairs going up to the upper level. This is missing a tree, but it's coming. That was an oversight as they built it, but we're going to make sure that gets put in to provide some shade. This was, I'm going to highlight that upstairs, but yes, the architectural feature, and I know there's a lot of questions about what the heck is that, including a view from the principal. And so, you know, this is that balance you strike with how much do you push on the architects and how much do you let their expertise weigh in. So it's designed to be a student gathering place. It is artificial grass. Part of it gets our lead, you know, points in terms of environmentally design, so you don't have to water and whatnot. It does have the separator, so it's not enticing for skateboarders. So we'll see how they use it. I encourage the students to kind of figure out it's designed to
Can we do mini
sit,
golf?
gather, you know, whatnot.
Yeah, it does. It is missing a windmill, a mini golf.
There you go. So it's, talk to ASB. It's a new student activity. Okay. Sorry, I know you're covering your ears right now. But here's kind of looking up that staircase that kind of goes up in a square shape, and a really cool feature up above with some of the natural light. I know sometimes in plans and renderings it looks a little bit like Swiss cheese and what would that actually look like, but kind of when it's done, I think we get a sense of, wow, a lot of natural light coming in. So it actually, you sometimes feel like you're in an indoor space, but it's outdoors. And it is outdoors. It's, you know, breeze goes through, but a lot of natural light. So it really, I think, has a pretty cool feel with it. Again, upstairs, looking at some of the classrooms. We did just get, I got a voicemail today that the sign off on the elevator finally happened today. So now we can use it. So yeah, that's exciting. You know, I mentioned 99% complete. I want to acknowledge we were in the classrooms on the first day with students and staff. A lot of kind of final, just fine tuning, right? This thing is missing, or need to add that, or you know, the HVAC units work, but the programming still needs to be done to automate them, and that's balanced with, you know, the energy efficiency of keep the windows and doors closed because that's more energy efficient, and so you meet that with, well, with COVID, we need to keep windows and doors open, but blowing air all the time. So you design it for energy efficiency, and then you have to adjust it due to a pandemic. And so, you know, some of those growing pains we've been working through. Here you see engineering lab at Los Altos again inside that space. So cool to have space designed for those purposes. You know, a lot of the thought of this was engineering, robotics, computer science were not things, or were barely a thing when many of these campuses in their prior to this year form happened. And so I remember being in Mountain View, just anecdotally, the robotics team or club met in the interior science prep hallway walkway area. That was their home, right? I'm using air quotes, but that was their home, right? And then when we added the 600 wing Measure A construction, we moved them into a classroom, and that was like a dreamlike space, but it was still a converted modular classroom, and we had some cabinets that we could give to them. So to have a space at both campuses designed around those programs is quite gratifying. And we're going to keep going again. So inside the classrooms, you see a lot of natural light, new furniture, a lot of whiteboard space. Not quite done yet, but what you see here is in phase of the auxiliary gym and multi-purpose space at Los Altos High School. And as we were getting closer to the deadline, we did say prioritize the classrooms at the expense of getting this done, you know, later if one had to give. So it's almost there. Give it kind of in September, and then we'll be able to open that space and have that to utilize as well. So that's coming soon. And then it was mentioned earlier, the cheese grater stairs. So I don't have to say much about it. It doesn't look like much, like, okay, this is, thanks, Mike, it's a picture of stairs. But if you'd ever gone up them before, you remember that metal, structure. And so a little nerve wracking. You're taking down 2 sets of stairs in like 10-week period and got to get them back up, but they did get them in. So finally, I think some of the RGM Kramer team that started in, I don't know, 08, 09, I think it's what they've been hearing from Los Altos that whole time. So we can check that one off the list. All right, so that's the big completed projects that we celebrate and talked about. And then, oh my gosh, what else happened is going on. So here's some pictures, a lot of demolition happening. The good news is the demolition happened over the summer months. So if you were around, boy, is obnoxious, but most people were gone, right? And it wasn't happening when classes were going on or other functions going on. And again, we bit off, I keep saying not more than we could chew, but about all that we could chew, right? In terms of wrapping up some projects and then starting some new projects. But again, the driving factors, one is the sooner we build these, the sooner our students and staff get to use them. And that's what it's all about. And then right behind that is just the cost escalation that happens. The more you push out these projects in the future, they just cost more. So doing them now allows us to make the best use of our taxpayer and community funds. And, we'll see, fingers crossed, we continue to stay on budget, and then it gives us some options about, what else to do there. So anyway, this is Mr. Maston's former classroom right there. This is a little aside, and former office over there. They're no more. So some demo, this is making way for the Student Services Building at Mountain High School. Nice aerial photo. And then of course, just, these things, they take 2 years to build and about, 2 days, if less, to take down. It's a lot of demolition work, but this kind of shows what projects we're embarking on. That's about a 2-year project, Student Services. Right here is tennis courts at Mountain View. So the pool will be off to your left. You see the solar panel for the parking lot. This is where the auxiliary gyms go. Pulling up that is tennis courts. And what happens in construction, even though you come and you have these services that locate all the underground utilities and piping, didn't locate some major utilities that were running east to west along the north part of those courts. So you got to stop and figure out how to reroute it. And you got to reroute it in the parking lot. And so it becomes a little bit of a mess, but that's how it goes in construction. Unforeseen conditions we talk about, despite best efforts to locate those things. So we have, and I think it was already shared about tennis teams using Los Altos courts and Rengsdorf courts, but that is what they're doing during this time where they can't use the Mountain View courts. Of course, once more courts at Los Altos are available after the Fields project, which is a future slide, we'll be able to have even more courts available at Los Altos for both teams to share as we get through the displacement period of auxiliary gym. So we're looking again about a year and a half, so through the fall 2022 sports season for the auxiliary gym construction. But you see the demo and grading and surface work going on there. Just another view of the same thing. The athletic fields project. So again, at each school, so you're seeing one school than the other, but there's similar projects. This is the synthetic turf field happening at Mountain View. So what you see way on the end, this is looking as if you're standing outside the new classrooms and you're looking out, it's south, but this is the baseball field and that's Oak Avenue behind you, all those tall trees. And so this is grading and getting level that field for a new synthetic turf field. When you're out there, when they actually take the soil and level it to make the playing surface, you realize how much of a slope there is from that baseball field that came down to campus, because now it's like a giant step up and then flat and another step up to the baseball field. Had to take down some fencing there on the left field foul line. That's just to adjust the fencing, but that's going to go back with netting to prevent as much as we can line drive foul balls going third baseline, left field out into the now new playing surface. So that's happening in Mountain View. This will take through the fall sports season. So November-ish time is when this is slated to be completed. That's why we start in the summer, and those projects are on schedule. So you're going to see some of the heavy machinery equipment they have, and trenching and things of that nature. And then just an aerial view of kind of everything going on. So they put up a drone and you can see them getting that surface already. Don't worry, the natural grass that you take out here is going to go back. This is kind of the main area of the synthetic turf, and then the natural grass and that they'll put back as long as the concrete walkway to get out there. All right, and just a little bit more of that as you see start some of the poles going in for some netting and rock base. You get the idea. All right, comparable projects at Los Altos High School. So again, the demolition of the admin building. So a few tears were shed, I think, that day. Many, many years of memories at that campus. And again, so the demolition happening there. It's hard. It takes some of the fencing takes up a good portion of the quad too, so you can see gathering spaces. It's become challenging. But again, excited about what's going to be built in that place. So again, here you see it, kind of the quad. This is the corner of the library building. So kind of standing is where the, Wynn's office perhaps might have been, looking at a lot of that demolished area. Also, not to be outdone, Fields project at Los Altos, right? So you see a lot of that leveling. This is the 900 building, 2-story baseball field out there, tennis courts right here. So that new playing surface, so we're excited about that. Similar timeline to Mountain View. Again, but just same project, but an aerial view of that. A lot of earth moving going on, a lot of dirt moving in different directions to level it. And then right behind where we are now is the new Freestyle building. So Freestyle moved out in the spring. We're actually able to put them in 5 modular classrooms that we had saved from Mountain View High School classroom project. And then the demolition of the existing Freestyle happened this summer. So those of us that work in the district office, you can view it out the back window when you're in the kitchen or when you're in Layla's office or at services, depending where you are, get a view of what's going on. It's a little loud at times. Thank you, contractors. Friday during the webinar, decided to, at our request, and they were accommodating, we're able to kind of see some of the loud demolition work going on. But exciting about kind of a new Freestyle and what it could become. And again, you see these colorful buildings back here. There was like 3 or 4 more of them that were here that are no more. And those ones are gone now too. So that work is happening. And there we go. So again, lots of pictures, a lot of my words speaking about it, and have to take any questions. But it was great to hear kind of earlier in the meeting a lot of the stories and reactions to it. So very exciting. And yes, a few minor things still wrapping up with some of those newly quote completed projects.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I did have a comment. First of all, it looks wonderful. I mean, I'm hoping to see Los Altos, but Mountain View looks like a dream in those buildings. And I also have to say that, and a lot of the teachers we spoke to, and this is to our technology department, Bob, in particular, your group, is that, there's been some kind of technology little snafu here and there, and every single person seemed to report back that they got a really timely response. It's like the best that they've experienced since that I've been on the board. So thank you for that. And I guess that leads to a question. Do we still have temporary hire techs on our campuses, or are we just supporting with all our own, it's everybody from with our own now? So yeah, it was a lot of positive feedback on the, especially when we looked at the computer labs and all the new laptops and, monitors and everything. That's obviously a lot of work has actually gone additionally into the technology setup, as well as getting the buildings ready. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that. And we've tried to reach out to get some of that temp staffing. I know we had some folks in the spring, not all of them we'd want to ask back. One in particular left for another position, and we tried to get her back to help with some support in the fall, but she was not available. So we're still continuing to look for that support, right? It's that mixed bag of you want help, but then you got to manage the help and what's the best use of your time. But we appreciate hearing that feedback, because it's no small feat. And to Bob's credit and the team, I think trying to standardize a lot of those classroom setups. And that sounds simple, and maybe in other work environments, that's more of a standard, maybe not, right? But really the plan that we have now is everyone has a district issued laptop. That's their main teaching tool. You go into a classroom, there's a monitor, but that monitor is a docking station. So I don't need to plug my computer into the wall, into the projector. I plug it into the, monitor. That's my power. It's a second screen. And then even how we connect to projectors is less hardwired. It's through this device called AirTame, if I said that right, Bob. Right, and that's connected hardwired, into our network. But you can then take your laptop and move around the classroom or an iPad or whatnot, and you're projecting what's on there. So that way you go in any room, it's a similar setup, and we don't have to worry about a dedicated device that, that's what I have to connect to or load my slide deck on a projector.
So tennis courts. So,
Yeah.
so I heard maybe that the girls tennis. So they're playing at Rainstorf. So practice and matches are at Rainstorf.
And Los Altos High School, yeah.
Oh, and
not as many courts at Los Altos. Mike Jimenez and Daniela emailed me the schedule. It was just the game schedule, but it was some courts at Los Altos, but also some courts at Rainstorf. So these are both locations. I think varsity was more at Rainstorf, if I'm not mistaken, and Frost sophomore at Los Altos, but I might be swapping.
Do you know how many courts they get at Rainstorf?
I believe I only saw 3.
Only 3 courts.
Yeah.
So the whole team would have to practice on 3 courts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably.
Yeah.
That's very few, right? That's very few courts.
It seems few from my opinion, right? And it's been quite a while since I played tennis and didn't even in high school.
15 people or so on the varsity team, and then I don't know how many on the JV team.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would get any practice time on 3 courts.
Yeah, I can certainly follow up with the athletic director or coaches,
Yeah, it'd be interesting, yeah, I'd like to know. And then what's the plan for the spring for the girls' tennis? The same, is we're gonna keep it the same?
Again, I can find out the details. One of the benefits we get come spring, right? So Los Altos, they have 12 courts. That's been true for decades. They're down to 8 right now because 4 of them are being used as a staging area for construction, but the new classroom and then the fields project. So once that fields project is done, to wrap up that project, we come back and we resurface and recreate those 4. So now they're back to 12. So they have additional capacity to help in the spring for boys tennis and then next fall with girls. My role is to support helping them get what they need, and often, the coaches or athletic directors work out the details of, and it's a combination of, you have the coach schedule, you have the, player schedule, you have when the courts are available, right? So we might say, hey, Los Altos practices, right? It's their courts, and Mountain View maybe practices after them, but that's at a later time in the day. Maybe that doesn't work for some people. So we'd rather have fewer courts earlier in the day than more courts later in the day. And it's all conjecture on my part, right? I haven't gotten into those details with them. So some of it is based upon those preferences.
Okay. What are we running into to get more courts at Rainstorf?
I don't know. I can find out. I know that when we first reached out to the city of Mountain View, because we looked at Cuesta Park, and I believe it's probably true at Rainstorf, although I want to verify this, is that that is managed by a group the city kind of, hands it off to the tennis center. And I was told, especially at Cuesta, that in the policy or rules is they can only reserve up to half the courts, and 50% of the courts need to be made available for public use at all times. And I take public use as basically non-reserved, non-scheduled by a group, so anyone could just come up and play. So I would hunch that is the limiting factor at those places. I'd have to go look at Rainstorf, how many courts they have. I don't know off the top of my head. So it's 3, half of that is
Rainstorf's got 10, Cuesta's got 12 courts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guguess it'd be interesting to know. I mean, and I guess if they're being used by private instructors or clinics, and I know that's an issue, because I know that's, people want to, be able to teach on those courts as well, have private instruction and clinics on there as well, so they're having issues with that.
I know a nearby private high school has for a long time used the Cuesta courts as their own home tennis courts too. So trying to add another high school and usage sometimes can, take over then those courts during certain times.
Okay, I wonder if to consider splitting the JV and varsity, if we can use the, like the courts at Cooper. There's 4 courts there at Cooper Park, and whether we can use them for like the JV team, the varsity uses either ranks or for
I
Altos.
think all those are possibilities. And some of that's already been shared with the coaches and athletic director about options way back in the spring when we first started looking at this. So
Because we have 2 coaches for the team, right? There's a varsity coach and a JV coach, or do we? I know, I thought
I'd have
we
to
used to have that, but I
confirm.
don't remember if that we still do. Yeah, I don't know if Michael knows.
So, yeah, we do have a varsity coach here too. We have, Al.
that is Al the JV person.
So theoretically, we could split the
Sure.
right?
So in short, basically, we're gonna make sure that our students
Yes.
have playing and practice courts available to them somehow, whether we understand it right now or not. That is one of our
Yeah.
objectives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And I know the girls who are competing right now, there's a plan. I have even the match schedule was emailed to me just before the board meeting. Right. So there's no home matches. Some are at Los Altos, some are at away, opponent schools. So I know I have that schedule and that plan to take care of it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions, Riley, Alva? Thank you, Mike, so much. Thank you for the
You bet.
show.
Beautiful pictures. too.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of people sent them to me, so.
Yeah.
File.
Okay, so that takes us to item 17.3. Oh, I failed to, I apologize, everybody. I didn't take community comment on either of these items here in the room. Let me just stop for a sec. Did anybody wish to comment on either the COVID update or the construction project update? Okay, seeing no hands. Sorry about that, everybody. 17.3 is our wellness update. Welcome, William.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here live and in person. It's been a long time. So, we want to kind of give just an update of all the different wellness initiatives and where we've been. I transitioned this position in January of 2020, just in time for the pandemic. And so there's been a lot of work that we haven't really had a chance to share. And so I'm excited to have the opportunity to share all that tonight. And one of the things I keep saying is it's a lot like being in the ocean and you're kind of standing with the water up to your neck and a wave comes and you're kind of flailing because your feet aren't touching the ground. And then the wave subsides and you hit the ground again, and then the next wave comes and pulls you up. And that's what the whole pandemic has felt like for us. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do is really refine and define our services to really say, this is what wellness services looks like. And let's communicate that to the community. And that's one of our goals tonight. Another goal is to talk about our current initiatives, things that are going on right now, and then to talk about some of the data that guide our work and kind of where we're going. So that takes us back to this room on March 11th, 2020, 2 days before we shut down, where we were talking about our wellness vision, the definition of wellness, as well as what is our vision and our mission. So a group of us got together in this room, spaced apart and all that good stuff. And we came up with these the vision, the mission, the definition, but we haven't had a chance to really get it out to all of our stakeholders and to collaborate with our stakeholders. So that's one of the things we're doing this year. But one of the things we want to point out is that in our definition of wellness, we say it's a process. And that the process of becoming well and striving for wellness is kind of where we're going. And then the second thing is that wellness is about prevention and about intervention. You'll hear all the time about upstreaming. And so basically what that means is how do we give the coping strategies, how do we give the resiliency strategies to folks before they need it? I think we're really good at crisis. In fact, we've kind of built our system on crisis. And so now kind of what our next step is how do we upstream? How do we give people the boat and the oars and the life jackets so when the water's rocky, that they're able to still swim and be successful. So 2 definitions that we've come up with. One is wellness services are preventative programs and services that foster the social, the emotional, the intellectual, and the behavioral well-being of our young folks. And then, sorry about the formatting here. And then school-based mental health services is what happens when access to education is impeded because of behavioral, social, emotional challenges that we have. And so we kind of break it up into these two different sections as it's easier to kind of understand the structure of what we do. So the Wellness Initiatives is a wide range of programs and initiatives and things that we do. And this ranges from what we do in the classroom, our classroom-based strategies, norms, routines, culturally competent teaching, equitable participation structures, and that's preventative that happens within the confines of the classroom. And then we also have whole school activities, things like student clubs, our rallies, our dances, our wellness weeks, all of the optional workshops and guest speakers and diversity training with Candidly Speaking and Challenge Day. And all of these things are helping to build more resiliency, more emotional intelligence, more emotional awareness. And then we also have things like our sports clubs, and we have things like our extracurricular classes that also build the capacity of what we do. And actually, even within the classroom, all of the collaboration strategies that we use, all of the self-assessments, these are all core social emotional learning skills that we're teaching in the classroom. And then we also have our social emotional curriculum. Last year, we started the HEART program. This year, we have a new program called Spark. That's also an online-based curriculum that teachers can infuse in the classroom, and more to come on that as we move along. So one of the things that we've really been doing is starting to define who's our personnel, what are the roles, what are the responsibilities in terms of wellness, again, preventative services. And there's a whole slew of us. I've highlighted some of the new roles and or the redefined roles in wellness prevention or in wellness services. And so we start with the Director of Student Services and Equity, Perla Pasayo. She's our oversees student services and is involved in some of our preventative activities. Our equity initiatives are all wellness building initiatives. We also have our assistant principals, Kristen Castillo and Marty McGurk. These are the student services coordinator positions that we've now transitioned over to assistant principals. And so what this does is this gives us 4 assistant principals at each of the comprehensive sites, and all of the students who are dealing with mental health challenges, school avoidance, attendance issues, will now go back to the caseload of the assistant principals. And so that's kind of a redefined element of wellness services, and also overseeing the site-based wellness activities. Our school counselors with the new school counseling model are doing some tier 1 preventative social emotional support. And then our instructional support team, we've added an inclusion role with Tim Farrell. And so we're excited to start working with him about some of the classroom-based strategies that we can do to support the well-being of our students. We share with you with this. This is came from the opening guidebook. And what we've done is we've started to categorize what the preventative wellness services look like. So if we kind of categorize it into the tier 1, which are opportunities for all students, some opportunities we have for all students. And again, this includes some of the things we talked about, the classroom-based strategies, the whole school activities, et cetera. And then some of our school-based mental health services, our interventions, are more tier 2, tier 3. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about upstreaming. We've been focusing on really building our tier 2, tier 3 infrastructure out of need. That was a need that we had. And now, as we're kind of having a chance to breathe again, get our feet back on the ground, we can start seeing, okay, well, what are the universal supports that we're giving young people in the classroom, in the school community, in order to do some of the preventative work. And that includes some of the community building ideas that we've given the staff and some of the teachers. And it's really fun. I was walking by one of the teachers' classrooms, and they were like, oh, William, that 60-second interviews within the first 2 days of school, I felt more connected to my students all last year by just putting the energy here, learning about my students right here in the first couple days of school. The other thing I want to just mention is just we're expanding some of our tier 2 targeted interventions. It does not have to always be school-based mental health therapists who are doing some of the outreach. Some of the outreach can come from our link alerts that our ambassadors are doing, or from some of the SEL students, leaders reaching out and kind of building some of that safety net, or the mentor-tutor connection, or all the other activities that aren't always necessarily the intensive intervention of the tier 3. So these are some of the wellness services initiatives, and I won't go through them all, but just kind of being back on campus is doing wonders for us. And just having some of the activities. We know the school dance was canceled, and we were a little bit bummed about that, but we still have all these opportunities where we're together, we're interacting, we're all together, and we're super excited about all the spirit days and all the activities that we're doing. Again, strengthening community building, inclusion in the classroom, continuing with suicide prevention training for our staff members, partnering with I'm Sparked by Vivensity for some of the SEL curriculum. And then for me, the most important is really fostering these one-to-one connections. Really, it underlies all of our wellness initiatives is that connection with our students, with each other, in order to build our village. And then restarting the Wellness Advisory Committee. Those definitions you saw on the first page came from the Wellness Advisory Committee in March of 2020, and we're excited to get back in person to be able to do some more of that work. So now I'm going to kind of switch gears and go over to school-based mental health services. And so we have our wellness preventative, and then we have our school-based mental health, which is more of the intervention. This summer, we designed a brochure that's all set and ready to go that just kind of captures what some of our services are. Now we have our short-term therapeutic support, and this may look like individual check-ins. It may look like one-to-one 6 to 12 weeks of counseling. It may be some group work, but that's kind of our short-term therapeutic support. And then we have our educationally related mental health services, and these are mental health services that are written into a IEP, an individualized education plan. So students who are in special education, it may be appropriate for them to have ERMs written into their IEP. And then our wellness check-ins, our drop-ins, our crisis intervention, available to all students. We have our referral forms that any student or community member or parent or teacher can connect a student with our mental health team. This is another graphic which just basically shows our services in just another way. All of our students are general education students, so all students have access to the things that we just talked about: non-urgent referrals, referrals to outside agencies, crisis intervention, etc. And then within the special education services umbrella, we have push-in sport to some of our academic communications and our therapeutic SDC classes, as well as ERMs written into IEPs. So it just gives you another visual of what that looks like. And we have a whole team to support us here with school-based mental health services as well. And again, lots of changes or redefining of positions and roles as we kind of create a long-term sustainable infrastructure. And so here we go. We have a Director of Student Services and Equity. And so Perla oversees student services, but also special education. And so ERMS is under the special education umbrella. And so that's something that her office will touch on. Sorry, I neglected to say Ms. Terry Fott, because she oversees everything, all student services, wellness services, etc. We have our new special education administrator, Nina Mand. And so she oversees the clinical team, as well as overseeing the ERMS process. And so this is a new role. I should have highlighted this one. This is a new role, but it's not necessarily a redefinition of the role within school-based services. The former director of special education also oversaw ERMS services and also oversaw the clinical team. But it is a new role. And then we have me, and I'll just say real quick, I help oversee the outside agencies. I help oversee some of the general education side of things in partnership with Nina and the special education side of things. We've added the special education program site coordinators. And so these folks, Nicole and Erica at Mountain View and Los Altos respectively, will help assign the ERMS cases and kind of oversee the ERMS assessments. Along with the school psychologist. So a team of special education folks, the special education administrator, the program site coordinators, as well as the school psychologists are helping with the ERMS process. And then the MVLA therapists are the ones that usually are assigned to our ERMS cases. Our assistant principals overseeing wellness, again, they will still manage the clinical team on the site, the day-to-day processes on the site, and so they do that. And then we have a new position, the MVLA Support Services Specialist. So with the phasing out of the CHAC lead therapists, our old intake coordinators, we move forward with creating an internal position for the MVLA Support Service Specialist. One of the differences in the lead CHAC therapist and the support service specialist is our new folks are social workers by training and by education. So they have the social work background. But their role functions the same. They're still the intake coordinator where they get all the referrals. And I'll explain that in a bit more detail in a second here. And then, really the cornerstone of everything is our MVLA school-based therapists. They're the ones that actually provide the service. They're the ones that do all the work. And so we have a list of them here and some of the areas that they oversee. This year we have, or we're transitioning Jasune Sullivan's role over to ERMS rather than being dedicated to Spanish speaking, which created a need for a professional expert contract for Spanish speaking therapy services. So we're adding a position for this year, a professional expert contract to serve some of our Spanish speaking students. And I'll talk more about the Spanish speaking element in a few minutes here. So this is kind of the overview of the student support referral process. And sorry, the formatting got a little bit messed up here. But basically, all students, again, all family members can submit a referral, and it's funneled through our bit.ly links, bit.ly -MVLA support or bit.ly /MVLA ayuda in Spanish. And you can refer for any of these things. If there's any emotional issues, academic issues, social services needs, et cetera, the goal is to create a singular referral system. So all student referrals will come into one spot. And then from there, our intake support services specialists are able to screen and triage what kind of care is needed. They may refer over to the site administrators. Let's say that there was a Title IX case, or if there was some kind of bullying or harassment. The student may need some therapeutic support, but they're also going to need some administrative intervention. So the intake person is able to kick it over to the site administrators if needed. If there's a crisis and we need a risk assessment, then we have our MVLA therapist of the day, who's there to kind of help support with that. We may need some social work support, and in this new model, the intake coordinators have that background, although there could be some greater social work need, or even to the school counselors if it's someone on their caseload and it's about connections and the check-ins. The support service specialists also have a long list of outside agencies that we also work with. We have some psychiatric fellows from Stanford Child Psychiatry that we can work with. We have Community Services Agency for some of the social work support. Bill Wilson Center, Family Advocacy Services, Health Your Kids, the Health Band, the whole continuum of Santa Clara Behavioral Health Services care. And so the intake person really has a bead on all these different organizations and is able to get the student the right support. Now, if short-term therapy is indeed needed, and that's, there's an impediment to accessing education, then the student services specialist can refer over to CHAC for one-to-one support, or to Uplift. Uplift has clinicians for one-to-one support, but they also have family engagement and family specialists that they can work with. So slightly different. There's some nuance there, and our team is aware of what that is. Or they may refer to an MVLA therapist, a general education student that's a higher risk student that needs support if we have space on those caseloads. So there's a lot that kind of goes on behind the scenes for the intake coordinator to kind of work with. But that's kind of what the referral process is.
Well, yeah, quick question.
Yeah.
So how is this information and all the services advertised to the students? Is it done?
Yeah.
Throughout the school year?
Yeah. So specifically, just like
each of the services and how to how to coordinate, how to contact the the people they need to contact?
Yeah, so a lot of these referrals are coming from our professionals to the professional agencies, right? So for example, let me answer your question this way. The bit.ly links with the student referral forms is really the key way to get help or to reach out to any adult. Once you get into the system, then we can kind of tell them a little bit more about what's going on or what's needed. Now, with that said, most students have heard, okay, you can have the short-term therapy if needed. They usually call it CHAC because we have a long-standing relationship with CHAC. In years past, it was only CHAC, so they call it CHAC, but it could be a lot of different mental health agencies. So some students are aware of that. Things like the Stanford psychiatrist, we wouldn't necessarily advertise because it's not like the students can go to the psychiatric fellows. We have to do a referral over and all that kind of thing. Uplift, some students may be aware of, they do more crisis intervention in the community, but they do offer short-term therapy as well, and it's on some of our resource lists, things like that.
I guess what I'm asking though is like, so you have these list of services that basically, like if you have academic stress, personal issues, emotional issues, how often are we letting the students know that, hey, if you have any of these issues here or you want any of these services, this is what you need? Is it like they're a constant or basically a consistent once a month type of thing for students to know that, hey, oh yeah, that's right, that's there,
Yeah, that's a good question. So typically the advertisements of the bit.ly links is done at the sites. I don't think there's anything that's really coordinated, like once a month, okay, let's push it out. It kind of comes out in whatever it is we're doing. So we created a resource slide that we've kind of pushed out to the teachers in the classrooms to put it in Canvas and Google. So, but to answer your question, I don't think there's a once a month. Okay, here's the push. Don't forget if you need support. It's almost like everything we do is kind of embedded in it.
Do you think that would benefit?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the students and they're nodding their heads. So I mean, we're happy to do that. I mean, I think the goal is to just have the one-stop shop for the students. You fill out the referral form. You don't have to know that Family Advocacy Services helps homeless youth. You just know, I got to keep you out of the house. Let me fill out the form.
Right.
And then our professionals will do the connection. Right. So I think if I'm understanding the suggestion, it's okay, once a month, let's push out, hey, here's the bit.ly links. If you need support, reach out.
Right. So they all know the bit.ly link, right?
Yeah, didn't you used to have something on your website too, on the main page, there's like a help or?
Like a big red button.
Yeah, big red button. Both sides do, right.
Yeah.
You're standing on there, go to the website of the school, there's a.
Right, but I guess I understand, so maybe that's one way of doing it, they can do that, but it's just nice that they have this, but, oh yeah, that's what if I'm feeling it, this is what I need to do, right? I think that's basically, because then it streamlines, for them as well, that it's coming through this source, and that's where they need to go, so.
We're doing something like that, tutorials as well.
Well, they were doing the heart program last year, and now I'm Spark. But yeah, so just the top right box and the bit.ly links, not what the intake person is going to do or what somebody might recommend or what all the different organizations are. Yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah. Just the how to get help.
I mean, I have a slide I can share with you that has, okay, here's some resources, here's the crisis stuff, here's the bit.ly link, here's some outside resources, here's some preventative wellness things. So I got it all in a nice slide. It's easy to attach to things and send out. Yeah.
I had a question also.
Sure.
What process did you go through to select the I'm Spark thing compared to the heart? And was that partly based on feedback from the heart that some people didn't like it as well, or?
Oh, that could be a whole nother presentation that I would love to give. So
I have the short answer.
Yeah, so that's a tough one. So how do we choose Sparked right here, right now? We piloted Sparked in March of 2020, or maybe May. I think we were April, May of 2020. We piloted Sparked. We had probably about 13 teachers or so that were involved in that. They had a lot of positive feedback on it. We initially partnered with Sparked going into the 2021 school year. They were they were doing some things on their end. The pandemic had an effect, and so they weren't ready to go. So right before school started, we were without an SEL curriculum. So we did some searching. We found the HEART program. We implemented that. Now I'm going to go too long, but there's a lot of reasons why I think that, like, I got a lot of feedback from the students.
And people liked Spark from the pilot and all, and
so different. And so, and the reason why it's different is Spark was integrated in the classroom, in the curriculum. HEART was an add-on. And so the feedback that I got, regardless of how long it takes, it was add-on, it was something else. And what the students wanted, among other things, and again, I'm happy to share all the feedback from the students, was they wanted something that was integrated within the classroom. They wanted something that wasn't an add-on. They wanted something that they could be guided through and not just watch a video. That's some of the feedback. There was other feedback about some other elements of things. So without really having the Wellness Advisory Committee and things kind of rolling, we went back to Spark, which we had already vetted. We ran Spark through the advisory committee in the spring of 2020, and that was the program that we selected. So we're kind of rolling with it for the first time, if you will, in a more formal way. Cool. Well, then I'm going to switch over here. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of our data. Our data really guides what we do. And so a couple key things. Here are the 2021 student support referrals. These are duplicated numbers. And so what that means, a student could be referred multiple times. It's not a one-to-one. The pinkish bar graph you can see, that's the MVLA total. And you can see in 2021, we had quite a big dip. And that was true across the board in school districts. And there's lots of reasons why we saw this trend, but some of the ideas are our disengaged students who would normally be referred to our team were disengaged and we didn't have eyes on them. So we didn't have our teachers on the front line seeing a student come in every day, noticing changes in behaviors, changing in emotions, and then referring them. So that's one of the reasons. And then another thought is just distance learning worked for some students, especially students who have social anxiety or were really anxious. Distance learning was a good fit for them. So we saw less numbers, but that was all school districts that I spoke to had the same type of trend. And then you'll notice the yellow and the blue. That's Mountain View is yellow and Los Altos is blue, respectively. And you can see Mountain View's always kind of had more referrals, and there's lots of reasons for that we can go into, but you see a really marked difference in 2021. So one of the questions that we had was why? Well, part of that is our high number of Spanish-speaking referrals at Mountain View. So you can see 42% of all of our referrals last year came from Mountain View Spanish-speaking families. And you see it in the pie graph there, just another visualization. Well, why do we see such a pronounced trend? Well, one thing that we know is that the pandemic disproportionately affected some of our communities more than others, and so that doesn't surprise us. Didn't surprise us before the pandemic, didn't surprise us in the pandemic, doesn't surprise us coming out of the pandemic. And so we see that in a lot of different communities. The other thing that maybe at play here is there's been a lot of outreach and community psychoeducation to our Spanish-speaking community at Mountain View. Mountain View has our English Learner program. We have our the vast majority of our newcomer students there, and so there's been this effort to educate, and as communities see the benefits of mental health services and social work services, more folks come. Again, it's all about connections. When a student and their family have had a positive interaction with the community or with the school system, and they've gotten the support, they word of mouth, and then more and more come. And so a lot of times it's just the education. And that kind of goes back to, I think, what you were saying, Sanjay, let's get more education out there and the more folks will come. And so maybe those are some of the reasons why we see that trend. We also had a therapist who graciously took on an additional role as an intake therapist for the Spanish speakers, and so we were able to kind of outreach to more folks, and so that's part of what happened.
So again,
Yeah.
does that include summer school?
This does not include summer school. Summer school referrals look very different. It's,
Okay.
yeah, so it's,
Just curious.
yeah. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next slide. Oh, actually, I want to say a little note at the bottom. I just want to mention here in 2021, the intensity of the cases that we're seeing are great. I mean, there's a lot of students that are coming here for the first time after a year and a half. A lot of students that have really struggled throughout the pandemic. A lot of hospitalizations during the pandemic. We saw that psychiatric emergency rooms went up 30% here in Santa Clara County. And so there's a lot of need. And so we've seen that in the first couple weeks of school. So just want to mention that. And really intense cases. So I thought this would be an interesting slide. It's just the assignments of the student support referrals. And so you can see this is N equals 589. And so these aren't duplicated. And this doesn't include crisis intervention and check-ins. These are where we assign students. So once they kind of came into the system and we assign them to either a district therapist, CHAC, Uplift. We had a social worker last year, so we had a social worker who had a caseload, outside agencies, or declined or admin. And you can see that about 50% of our case assignments are with CHAC, Uplift, and the social worker. So it just shows you that we are using our community agencies and working with them as well. Another slide just for interest. These are MVLA therapists. These are categories of service. So on the left, you can see the types of services that we provide, including individual counseling, check-ins, group therapy, etc., push-in, department meetings, etc. Each of the colors represent an MVLA therapist. So all the blue represents one therapist and where their services are. And it's really interesting because it just shows you that the different roles and responsibilities that these folks have. You can see that, for example, the classroom push-in psychoeducation, you can see the blue and the green, those two therapists who push into those classes, that's where they spend a bulk of their time. So you can just kind of see, it's just kind of an interesting graph that kind of shows how we service the community. And then these are just our initiatives for 2021 under school-based mental health services. We're going to continue to define and refine our school-based services. Our goal is to create a long-term sustainable infrastructure. And so now we're able to kind of see, collect all of our data, look at all of our systems and say, okay, what do we need to create the infrastructure? And so we're building more partnerships, refining some of our processes, and we're continuing to expand our services, our capacity for services. Again, we're adding the professional expert for Spanish-speaking therapists in Mountain View. We worked with the city of Mountain View and Family Advocacy Services to get a grant to get a part-time McKinney-Vento case manager. One of the things that this person will do is help to identify students as McKinney-Vento, which then opens up more services for our students. And so that's part of one of the grants that we acquired. Another grant that we acquired with Joe Simidian, Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Joe Simidian's office, was a EL dedicated case manager from CSA. So we're working with the Mountain View CSA, Community Services Agencies. And so we have the grant, and now we're just waiting for it to be funded so that we can then put a person in that position. So we're continuing to find ways to access more services. And then I just want to say a big, huge thank you to our superheroes of the clinical team. Our clinical team in the first 7 days gave service to over 200 students. And again, these are not easy cases. And so they've been kind of holding some of the plates as some of the new people are getting ready to be onboarded. And so they've been doing a lot of work. So I want to say thank you. And really, I think some of the toughest work, I mean, to be present when somebody's suffering at the greatest, and for them to be heard, for them to be seen, for them to be held, and for them to be connected to services is really magic and a superpower. So we just want to say thank you to them. And with that, any questions for me?
Thank you very much.
I just have one. So on here, you said the expanded capacity for services, and you listed the professional expert Spanish-speaking therapist at Mountain View High School, but we've actually hired that person, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're right. So we hired that person. We're just onboarding.
Okay, so they haven't haven't started yet, is that right, or?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that's why they're not part of the thank you, because I would figure they're part of it.
Oh, yeah, no,
Okay.
they haven't started yet, but
Okay.
thank you in advance though, for sure.
Yeah, right. Okay, good.
That's a
Thank
tough
you.
role.
More questions? I know I asked a few along the way, and thank you for answering the ones that I submitted ahead of time. Bill, anything? Ava or Riley, did you have a comment or question on either?
That is good.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, just want to say a huge thank you, William, to your whole team, and there's a lot going on. This is I mean, I think of any PowerPoint I've seen that has like more, maybe second only to Layla's prior to this. So,
Yeah, well,
a ton going on. Thank you so much.
yeah, any other questions anytime, feel free to reach out. I'll have to share. Cool.
No, I just want to thank you all. Thank you.
All right. Well, we are on to a review of calendar events, 18.1. We'll see this Friday, we're ribbon cutting, if you will, at the football game. Dr. Meyer went through a list of things at the beginning of the meeting. Back to school. Back to school on Thursday. Right. I think when is your first half hour live? It's like your 6:30 is like a town hall. It's actually live with you. Webinar, yeah. Okay. So, and that registration came out through Wen's Words if anybody needs it. Okay. Communications, correspondence.
Yeah, I just like to reiterate that this Saturday from 11 to 12:30, the Santa Clara County Commission on the Status of Women will be having its celebration of women leaders in the county. And if you go on Google and just search for Santa Clara County Commission on the Status of Women celebration, you'll find the information on how to get to that.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Future board reports, if anybody needs to add anything to the list.
I just want to request, you mentioned that there will be a future agenda on the College Now report. More in depth. I just want to just request that in that report, if possible, basically, if we can, one of the questions I would like to know is how do we screen those applicants to make sure that they're going to be successful in College Now? And I don't know, I mean, that it depends on when this report's going to happen, whether we can understand how are they performing in the program. If we can get a kind of understanding of that.
Perhaps last year's, if not.
Yeah, if we have last year's, yeah, absolutely. We can have that. Sure, we can have a look at that data too. Why not?
Okay, so we will be back here September 13th is our next meeting, right? I'm at 18.4. September 13th at 7 o'clock here. And I would take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
There's a motion from Catherine, a second from Sanjay, that we adjourn at 9:19. Ava, how would you like to vote?
I approve.
Riley? I approve. Thank you. Back to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.